We currently have 75 diplomatic missions as a country. So we are growing from an initial start of under 10 under the Osagifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. We are now at 75. We have 13 high commissions, 48 embassies, and 14 consulates. President Mahama has instructed that we establish new consulates. And you may have heard that one of the key outcomes from his state visit to Singapore is the agreement that both sides will deepen bilateral engagement and establish permanent footprints. So next year, we have been charged to open a consulate in Singapore. We are also opening one in Dublin, in Ireland, and an additional one in Massachusetts. Ghanaians in the US have been crying that New York and Washington cannot continue to represent the 50-state country. And so President Mahama granted us approval only 2 weeks ago for an additional consulate to be opened in Massachusetts. And then we are going to have a new consulate in Lisbon, Portugal. You do know that Air Portugal has a direct flight here. We have growing commerce. And when our PPMEB, that's Policy Planning, Evaluation and Monitoring Bureau of our ministry, did an analysis, they made a strong case for us to establish diplomatic presence in Portugal. So we are grateful to President Mahama. President Mahama loves this ministry so much that so far I have not made a request he has rejected. And I pray to continue that way. The ratio of ambassadors, I know that my colleagues here are always particular about that. They kept reminding me, Honorable Minister, please keep an eye on the ratio. Don't allow your colleagues in the political class to take all the ambassadorial positions. I am delighted to confirm to you that President Mahama has been more particular even before I raised the matter. So we are currently doing 45-55 in favor of non-career ambassadors. And that is very impressive. That is very, very impressive. So 34 non-career ambassadors, 28 career ambassadors. And I asked for a historical analysis to be done. And when you put it in perspective, you see that President Mahama has done very well. Between 1992 and 2000, from our PPMEB and the direct admin, the analysis they have done, we were doing 60-40 in favor of non-career. That must have been under President Rawlings. Then under President Kufuor, we're doing 64-36 in favor of non-career. And then under President Mills, it was 58-42 in favor of non-career. And then under President Akufo-Addo, 52-48%. So you see that President Mahama's 55-45. It's amongst one of the best. President Mahama, President Akufo-Addo have done quite well, making sure that our career diplomats, because that's the dream of all of you, I know. You want to be ambassadors one day. Many of you want to be called Ambassador Techi Mensin or Ambassador Adam or Ambassador Khadija, you know. They are your role models, and you always want to be like them, like Ambassador Ntrakwa. So I know. And we are keeping an eye on that. And President Mahama has even told me that along the line, we'll see as we are expanding and opening new consulates and embassies, who knows, we may even get to 50-50. He's discussed. Oh, a round of applause to President Mahama. And let me put this in context so that your applause will be louder. President Mahama has appointed the leanest government in history, in our recent history, the leanest. And yet, he has the most overwhelming mandate, a 2/3 parliamentary majority. So you can imagine the pressure on him. You know, others had a lot of appointments they were making at the ministerial level. And so they could have afforded, you know, to allow, you know, our diplomats to occupy the ambassadorial positions. And yet, despite the constraint, only 60 ministers, he has still managed
to keep within very impressive levels of 55-45. So another round of applause. When you put this in context, you see that President Mahama has done very, very well at the ministerial level. And so they could have afforded, to allow, our diplomats to occupy the ambassadorial positions. And yet, despite the constraint, only 60 ministers, he has still managed to keep within very impressive levels of 55-45. So another round of applause. When you put this in context, you see that President Mahama has done very, very well. What was with us, another TVET agreement was signed with the Singapore Institute of Technology. And we have a carbon credit agreement with the Singaporeans, and we outlined a number of projects that we are going to roll out. So my next slide details a lot more of what was achieved in Singapore, including 18 chief directors, following from the president's strong pitch. He wants us to collaborate, to have, because their standards are high, efficient, their delivery, their work ethic. And President Mahama secured immediately a partnership that will allow 18 chief directors immediately, just this month of September, to go and study for capacity building and return in a few weeks. 18 chief directors. 18 chief directors. So, Dr. Agredako, you see that President Mahama didn't abandon your head of civil service role. You received full support. So, the question that I've been asking myself is that if President Mahama achieved all this in just 4 days, 2 days in Japan, 2 days in Singapore, and you are going to spend 4 years, do you have an excuse? Do you really have an excuse to come back home empty-handed? As for you, you don't win for Ghana, no agreement for Ghana, no increase in scholarships, no increase in trade volumes, no PJCC. We don't see any support for the present priority areas, 24-hour economy, a big push, Women's Development Bank. Madam Vice President is here. And you want us to keep you at post and be commending you and be saluting you, and for you to be enjoying all the privileges and courtesies, as you call them, which you deserve, no doubt. You deserve all the privileges and courtesies. But if the president, let's all reflect, and it starts from me. So because I've been really, people think I'm only excited that President Mahama achieved all that, but I've also been quite petrified, because if your boss can achieve this in 4 days, then you as minister and your ambassadors, you really have no excuse. You have to make sure that you deliver. So President Mahama, as I conclude, has instructed that you don't give people KPIs, new targets, without looking at their conditions of service. So I'm happy to announce to you today what you have been waiting for a long time. President Mahama has given us the approval, and this morning I signed your new foreign service regulations. So you now have enhanced conditions of service.